masks should at least be up for a debate, because in your Daily Dispatch on Friday, where you did end up cutting up the mask, you raised the point that many experts, like Dr. Jenny Harries, for example, has pointed out that actually mask use can potentially spread the infection more. There is not overwhelming conclusive scientific evidence that mask use does work, because of course masks can become dirty, they can be put on surfaces. Kids won't necessarily use their masks in a particularly clean manner. I guess the other side of that, Mark, is some people would say, what problem do you have in just putting a mask on and making other people feel better?
Well, definitely, and I think that's a reasonable argument. And the first thing we did after the Daily Dispatch on Friday is took calls from people who disagreed with me. I have really used the mask as a symbol, as I said, of the kind of strategy with COVID now. People don't realize what a perilous situation we are in. The pain, I'm afraid to say, hasn't even started. Furlough is ongoing, and it doesn't end for some weeks. And the enormous tsunami that lies ahead of unemployment and the impact that will have not just on the nation's finances, which affects the government's ability to pay welfare and supply, money and resource to the NHS that we love so much, mental health, but undiagnosed other illnesses, including cancer. So that's why I felt moved to use the masks as a sort of symbolic gesture, I think, to spark that conversation. Ultimately, you're right about how the science around masks is flaky at best. And, Jenny Harris is on record as saying, as you've pointed out, there's no strong evidence either way. In Sweden, there are no mask rules. They are at the very tail end of this pandemic now, at this stage in its trajectory. And their chief scientific advisor thinks that masks could spread COVID-19. So in the end, we all agreed with lockdown when it started, because it was about controlling the spread and making sure the NHS wasn't overwhelmed. But I feel honestly that the country is in a critical state of illness now when it comes to its economic health. And that equates to human life. In the end, what is crucial for me is that we focus on the bigger picture, which is the preservation of life. Now, that's what lockdown was about. That's what the masks is about. But we are losing that protection of human life if there is such economic damage. That people, and it's been proven that poverty kills. And there's going to be so much poverty.
Well, poverty kills, cancer kills, mental health issues kill. And these are all exploding, Mark, as we remain frozen by this irrational and hysterical fear. And absolutely, the fact that we're pointing this out, by the way, does not mean that in any way we deny COVID or that we don't believe that it's an incredibly damaging virus. I mean, I've had it. I know exactly what it's like, Mark. But what the issue is, and I actually wrote a column on Friday, which got me into trouble too, because I said, I don't want the new normal, I want the old normal. And what sparked it is the fact that I saw Beth Rigby, the Sky News political editor, broadcasting from home on the first day that Parliament resumed. And it's like, get back to work, Beth. You're a key worker. Go and hold our leaders to account at Westminster. Get out of your living room in North London. And actually, we all need to send a message to the rest of the population that it is safe to return to work now, because especially at the moment, COVID is a very, very minor threat.
Well, indeed so. And I think that the point about masks is that, I would never broadcast on any platform, least of all talkRADIO, and tell people to break the law. And as I say, I follow the rules around masks, but I just think that some discretion would actually open up the economy so that people can wear a mask in an environment where they feel it's necessary, and it's up to their wise judgment. And I'll tell you for why, because we had no masks for the first 3.5, 4 months of the pandemic, in which the numbers went down. It's an open admission within the corridors of power that a big aspect of the mask is reassurance. It's the optics of it. And that is not the same as going into a convenience store and feeling like a common criminal if you dare to go in not looking like a Poundland Darth Vader.
Now, Mark, you obviously infuriated fellow comedians of the left. Danny Wallace tweeted to say, Mark Dolan unfollowed me for my tweet. Of all people, I can't see why he would struggle with the idea of free speech. Susie Ruffle, the comedian, said, this is up there for the most pathetic thing I've ever seen, also completely reckless. And our friend Femi Olawale, Mark, He said, I really hope this is a parody. Otherwise, Mark Dolan just went against the Lancet to endanger our health by increasing infection rate and endanger our economy by risking a second wave. How do you respond to your critics, Mark?
Look, I love all of those people. I'm an admirer of each and every person that you name checked. And so I'm not going to get sucked into, a sort of fist fight with any of these people. In the end, I want them to express their view and tell me that they're wrong. But we have sleptwalked through a lot of these measures. The damage to the economy, honestly, there's a day of reckoning, and it will be in the autumn, and it's tragic and it's awful, and I can't bear to think about it now, in which, the impact of how we're dealing with this COVID-19 is going to affect our lives for generations. I make no apologies for doing that. In fact, can I be honest with you? I've been on Twitter, and today I said, Dan, I'd rather be tweeting about cats. Because my cat Harry is very charming. I don't think he's got COVID. He's a handsome devil. And, this is not really necessarily an obsession of mine. No. It's not ideological. Look, let me give you a really good example of the sort of madness around masks, which is that I went to Tate Modern at the weekend. Fantastic, biggest art gallery in modern Europe. It was impossible to get in because you've got to pre-book. Finally, after it was like getting into some kind of safety deposit box. It was like Fort Knox, basically. Finally in, no one there. All the cafes have closed. 300 people have been made redundant because of total COVID phobia. Meanwhile, I went to a bar in the evening, a packed Weatherspoons, in which people cheek by jowl, having a great time, happily mask-free.
No social distancing, no mask. And also, no massive increase or worrying increase yet that we should actually be concerned about, given that hospital admissions and deaths are not increasing. But, Mark, you do have a lot of fans from, I would say, sane people. Carol McGiffin, our great friend, she just simply said, well done, that man. She agreed with your call. Carol Decker, the singer, said, masks are utterly depressing and it breaks my heart to see our school kids in them. I am now worried that Boris Johnson will not step back from this. I feel sorry for nervous people, but we cannot live like this. And James Whale, our friend, who obviously usually follows us at 7 o'clock, but right now battling very serious cancer, he says, well done, mate. Could not agree more. And I'm supposed to be in shielding. The use of these masks is probably causing more trouble than it's helping. And that's James, who's suffering from cancer. So there's two sides of every argument on this. But Mark, as we've seen with so many issues recently, if you're part of the London liberal media elite, if you're on social media, there's only one viewpoint that's acceptable, and any debate isn't allowed. And I think that's the worrying thing, because if we don't debate this situation, then we're going to continue to sleepwalk into economic catastrophe. So I think it was a really important discussion that you've prompted. And while I am personally happy to wear a mask if it keeps other people happy, I think we do have to keep on questioning authority, keep on questioning the government here, because we've got to follow the facts and we've got to follow the changing situation.
Well, exactly right. And honestly, it's a race against time now to manage and contain this awful virus, and cases will increase. But ultimately, now it's a race against time to save the country. I really feel that COVID began by tragically killing people. I think it's killing the country now. And it's to me, it's that's why I was willing to put my reputation online, fall out with a couple of obscure comedians in order to achieve that aim.
Well, Mark, you've made a lot more impact than them, and I cannot wait to hear what you do in your dispatch this Friday, because you've got a lot to live up to. That is Mark Dolan, the comedian, and of course, the host of Friday Drive Time here on Talk Radio.